Thank you to all of our presenters today. Just some great information. If I were to sum up so far, what we've learned is plan ahead, intentional, living an intentional life where you kind of looked ahead and got an idea of what quality life looks like for you. And then some suggestions on how to get to that life and not to some other thing that you really didn't plan on. Yeah, there's some work involved, but there are resources, there are people, and so we'll fill in those gaps. Okay. Carly and I have the cleanup, and the cleanup is, well, Mark. Isn't this long-term care stuff, isn't that already a part of my estate plan? And the answer is,
it depends.
there you go. There you go.
Yes and no.
She can learn. Yeah. Well. So. Yeah. It depends. Part of it is, well, there's some stuff in, we'll talk about that in a second, and then there's a whole bunch that is not already in your estate plan. So let's kind of walk through that, okay?
Sure. So the first thing that we just talked about with Kurt is how to pay for things. And that can be a big part of your estate plan. We talked about a couple of options with reverse mortgages and annuities. And those can also kind of pair with some legal tools as well to help pay for your long-term care planning.
But if you haven't taken the affirmative step of including instructions, then we will build tools, we will build a plan, but we will be limited as the attorneys to who. Mm-hmm. And if you don't do a plan, then we don't even get to help you choose who.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about with Hugh, when we say Hughes.
Yeah.
You know, I can't talk anymore. I could earlier, but I can't now. The big issue with who is, we call them fiduciaries. And the fiduciaries are the people that act as powers of attorney, your agents, trustees. So there's like financial power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, your trustee, successor trustee. And then your personal representative or executor, which is, by the way, after your death. And so they're maybe not the biggest help to you at that point. However, clearly key to what you do for the kids. So yes. So we can help you choose those people, and we can help you understand what they do. But if you haven't made the provisions for, what it is that they're supposed to do specifically for long-term care, there's a gap.
Yes. And it's really important that you have those people in place for if you become disabled. Because the odds are like 3 out of 4 people.
We saw that.
Are going to be disabled.
How many times did Teresa say we're going to fall?
So many.
Just like every other comment she made was about falls. Now, she didn't say this today, but we talked about this earlier. As we were finishing up the conversation, she said, and no baths.
Yes.
And I thought, well, I don't want them to smell, but what she means is that's an easy place for people to slip, to fall, bang a head, break a hip, shoulder.
Yep. Traumatic brain injury.
Yes. Oh, holy cow. All right. So the who might be in your plan, but dang it, if you don't have any sort of a legal plan, then it's up to the judge to decide who.
Yeah.
And he or she might pick somebody you don't want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So How does your estate plan help you pay for your long-term care?
Well, it's probably not a straight line. Not like Kurt was talking about as far as, preparing. If you're sitting down and actually going, here's my financial plan and here's what it's going to take care of. You do talk about, again, the people that are supposed to take care of you. There is the responsibility they have to take care of you. And they do have instructions to use anything in your estate plan to pay for it. So, if you were thinking, I want to save the house for the kids, the trustee does not have that responsibility. The trustee has the responsibility to provide for you a safe, comfortable place. And if we have to sell the house to do that or use other assets, that's their job. So, is that a provision for paying for it?
Yeah. How about getting access to those accounts, to that money?
Well, as you know, if you don't do a trust, for example, and if you are incapacitated and need that care, then they will take a power of attorney. Hopefully you got a power of attorney. And they're going to go shop that around. They're going to go around and say, I am the power of attorney. I need to be put on this account. And I need access to a retirement account. I'm going to sell the house, so I need to be, whatever it is, whatever it takes to pay for the care, that's their instruction. That's what they're going to do. Now, I have over the years had experiences where banks have had issues with the power of attorney.
Yeah.
And if that happens, we will argue, we'll arm wrestle, we'll talk to the bank's counsel, their attorney, and we'll see what we can do to make that happen. It doesn't always happen. If that's the case, or if you don't have the financial power of attorney, we'll do a conservatorship.
Why is that not a great idea?
Well, one, as a general rule, having to go to court is not your best option.
Yeah.
It's expensive, it's time consuming, it's not a lot of fun either, by the way.
Listen, we're lawyers and we're telling you don't want to go to court.
Well, so I used to do conservatorships and I quit, and I get asked still, do you do conservatorships? And one of the reasons I didn't like it was we would have to take and prove up that mom was incompetent. And
that doesn't sound like fun.
Nobody wants to do that.
No.
And if they really want to, then they're not the one that should be the conservator. Now, conservatorship, the conservator trumps a power of attorney as far as the ability to access all of the assets. The conservator can go in and flash their badge, and they go, here, sign here, and we're ready to go. Now, if you have put together a trust-based plan, then the successor trustee, we have them sign an acceptance of appointment. And we've really had very few, if any, problems with the successor trustee. They flash their badge, the bank goes, okay, or the financial institution goes, great, here, sign here. So if we've got that plan in place, then we've made assets available.
Yeah. The other thing I really like about the trust-based planning and disability is not having to go get a conservatorship and deciding on your own terms who's going to help you make that decision on when you can no longer make good choices.
Yes.
Because I can't imagine it's fun to go and sit in court and have people talk about the bad decisions that you're making.
Well, as a general rule, we tried not to have mom or dad with us in court because that's what we were doing. But we found out still it's just not fun.
No.
It's
So
not fun.
deciding that on your own terms, I feel can be a little better.
Well, you can clearly see where having a trust-based plan that gives you more control, and you've coupled that to a strong financial plan, how I'm going to pay for it. You can see how those two together are a powerhouse.
Yeah.
That is a great plan when you've got those two connected together. The third part of that from the financial standpoint is communicating to your successor trustees. So if it's kids, it's kids. If it's sibling or someone close to you, making sure they understand what it is that you want to see and how you want to work it, giving them the power with a trustee as a successor trustee and a strong financial plan. I don't know that you can do much better than that.
Yeah. Sounds like a great plan.
But your estate plan by itself, you can see there's some gaps. You need other things added to it.
Yeah, we're just one part of the puzzle.
Yep.
Yeah. So we were talking about paying for long-term care.
Oh, yeah.
What if there isn't enough? There isn't enough money.
The conversation with Kurt, not enough happens in a couple of ways. One, if mom, I say mom because I've had this situation a handful of times, living in the 4,500 square foot home that was built in the 40s or the 50s, raised the family there, and she's living there. And she wants that home to go to her son or to the kids. Then it can easily be the situation where there's not enough to pay for care and make sure that the house goes to, the kids. So there's nothing left. The fiduciaries, their only thing is to do something with the house. Now, if we have spent all of the other available assets, investments, cash assets, then we could qualify for a governmental benefit. There's Medicaid that can be available that you can qualify for while owning a house, as long as the equity in the house doesn't exceed $750,000, which right now,
it's getting harder and harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Housing, especially in the valley, has shot up, and so it's easy to have too much equity in the house, and then you won't qualify. So you could qualify for Medicaid, but then Medicaid will want to come back and get what they've paid out on your behalf from the equity in the house after your passing. Okay, so that can happen. It's not a happy situation either.
No.
The other one would be that the trustee sell the house and then use the cash to pay for care. Now, with some additional planning, we could protect the house,
Sure.
which would allow somebody to qualify for Medicaid and not have to pay back the payments out of the house.
What's the caveat there?
Well, there's a couple of caveats. The big one is I don't know that you want to be on Medicaid.
Yeah.
That is
I mean, we've been talking about it with Robert, that there aren't a ton of facilities that are able to take Medicaid anymore because of what they're able to reimburse.
Yeah, the state legislature has kept the Medicaid funding as low as they can, which means that if you go on Medicaid, if you can find a Medicaid bed is the term they use in the business. If you're in a Medicaid bed, the facility gets about half of what they would get paid private pay.
Yeah.
So they can't have a lot of beds, Medicaid beds, because they won't be profitable.
It's hard to stay in business that
And
way.
then, yeah, you know what happens if you can't turn a profit. You're not going to be around very long. So that's a big issue.
The other caveat is time.
Well, that you have to start this plan, as you know, 5 years in advance. 5 years and the day before you file an application. And most people don't want to do that. They don't want to give up control of the house.
Because that's what that plan requires.
Yeah, that's
It
what it
requires
requires.
you to give up a little bit of, a lot of bit of control over your ownership of the house.
Yeah, you don't.
For 5 years.
Yeah, you don't get to hang on to much. Yeah, that 5 years, and what happens if you need the help, the care, before the 5 years is up?
Yeah.
Do you undo the plan and just use the cash anyway? There's a lot of issues. There's a lot of issues there. We do a fair amount of that, but the caveat each time is 5 years, I don't know that you want to be on Medicaid, not right now.
The thing I really like for that planning is family cabins that they want to pass down to the next generation or that have been passed down. If we can do a little planning
Hang on to those.
and hang on to that family cabin, I think that's a better legacy than a house that nobody wants.
Well, we had that situation. I was working with a lady, and she was hanging on to the house, and there was some money in it. This was a number of years ago, but it was up in the North End, it had been a lovely home, but there hadn't been much landscaping in a number of years, and she just kept telling me, "I got to hang on to that for my son. I'm holding on to the house for my son. That's where he grew up, and I want to make sure that he gets it." And so I said, "Would it be all right if we called your son?" And she said, "Well, okay." And I said, "I'm talking to your mom. We're trying to do some planning. I'm a little bit concerned that she doesn't have a lot of assets, and she's just hanging on to this house. And what she's told me is she's hanging on to the house for you." And the gentleman said, "Mom, I'm never coming back to Boise. I'm not going to live there. I don't want the house. I don't need the house. Mom, sell the dang house. We need you to be comfortable and safe. That's what I want." And, she was a little bit sad because she'd been hanging on to this thing forever. But she was able to sell that, buy a smaller place, and have some cash to help pay for her care. It worked out well. And I appreciated what he had to say and the ability for him to say that to his mom. But that makes me wonder a lot how many other moms and or dads are hanging on to a house for the kids that don't want it. Clearly don't need it, but don't want it. Now, I know there's some that need a house and that type of thing, and there are things we can do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and at the end of the day, it's your money. You earned it.
Yes.
Use it for yourself.
Yep, that is absolutely true. Now, the Depression era babies, and there's not as many anymore, but the Depression era children, it was like it was hardwired into their DNA that they were not good parents unless they left something to their kids. And so that just wasn't even an issue. They were going to leave something significant to the kids as their inheritance. And I had one little lady that was living on about $1,200 a month Social Security. It wasn't quite enough to take care of her very basic needs. And as we were going through, her daughter brought her in, we were doing some planning, and as we were going through this, we found out that she was sitting on a $250,000 money market CD in the bank. So she was barely getting by from month to month, and she had a significant cash asset.
Yeah.
And so the daughter goes, Mom, what is going on? Oh, that's your money. I can't touch it. And the daughter was just, she was livid. She was not happy about that. So, moms and dads, yes, I'm saying it's okay not to leave anything to the kids. We've been very fortunate. Your kids have been in, many of you, your kids have been in, and they agree. They don't need it. They don't want it. They need you to be comfortable, and they need you to be safe. That is worth every bit, to know that that's what's going on, that you can live and have a quality life. So, all right.
As a daughter of parents, like cash would be nice, but I'd rather you live a happy, safe life than give me money and you not live your best life. It's fine. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. Let's take care of you first. We can't do anything else until we take care of you first. Okay, so the question was, isn't my long-term care already provided for in my plan, in my estate plan? And the answer was,
yes,
it depends.
and no. It depends.
Yeah. We have, those of you that have created especially a revocable living trust-based plan, we have provided you with your people. We've put that into legal stuff, legal
Mumbo jumbo?
yes, that allows those people to step in if you can't do it, and then take care of you in any way that they need to, including selling the house, liquidating assets, anything that's necessary to take care of you. So to a certain extent, we've done that.
Yeah.
You have to decide if that's the plan that you want, the financial plan that you want. If that's not the way you want to do long-term care, we should probably visit again. And there are questions for you to ask your financial advisor. If you don't have a financial advisor, give us a call. We have several that we work with that we can give you that information.
Yep.
Anything else about the estate plan that they need to know?
Sooner rather than later.
Yeah. No, well, here's the deal. If you know when that event's going to happen, the fall, the significant health event, if you know when that's going to happen, at least get in, 6 months before that.
Yeah. You get a little premonition. You can see the future.
If you don't know when that's going to happen, the best time to do it is soonest. Now, immediately. Get it done.
Yeah, if that's not your superpower,
Yeah.
come see us.
Yeah. So that's kind of the bottom line for everything we did today. Anything you can do now is best. Sooner is so much better. Well, thank you for joining us. It was good to have you here. There's a lot of information. We will be giving you, some follow-up on what we've talked about. If you have further questions, check in, give us a call. We can line you up with the people we had today or other peeps.
Yeah. We'll have lots of information going out in the days following this, and then we'll have these available if you need to come back and either share this or watch it again. Invite someone you care about to watch this as well.
We're going to put each session out as a podcast, which allows you then to review it. If you didn't take the notes I told you to take, you could do it then. That's all I got.
So thanks for coming.
Yes, thank you.